want to, we instantly become servants. So for instance, an employee is a servant of the corporation. An employee is a servant of the corporation. Similarly, you also have, even in a husband and wife relationship, the husband serves in a certain way, the wife serves in a certain way. They are servants of each other. Then you have the parents serving the children. The children are expected to serve the parents. They're trained, right? The disciples serve the spiritual master, the guru. The guru serves the disciple. The guru is also a servant, but a different kind of service. Right? Interesting concept of service. So every relationship practically is a relationship of service. So when we have relationships within the family and our need, an intrinsic need to wanting to serve is not being satisfied, we reach out to the community. So we become a part of a larger group based on some ethnicity. It could be based on race. It could be based on language. It could be based on some interest. Right? We have so many groups who just join in because they have some common interest. We seek to become parts of other groups and the hope of getting related to other people. And what is the bond of relationship? The bond of any relationship is service. Any relationship, the bond is of service, unmistakably. So why do we seek to broaden our circle of influence? We constantly seek to broaden our circle of influence. We go from a small family unit and then we expand into a community. Community service then expands into maybe a town, city, and city into state, and state into country. Right? Even the political ambitions of someone is an ambition of service eventually. How tainted it is a different situation, but ultimately it is a relationship of service. Any relationship that we seek is a relationship of service. Right? But then yet we feel completely dissatisfied even though we have such huge opportunity for service. We are interconnected, we network, and we are connected with so many people around the planet. Even if you're very popular and you're connected, you are connected to so many people, but yet you feel quite dissatisfied with life. And why do we feel dissatisfied with life? Because the opportunity to serve and the opportunity to render service is quite limited. We don't feel satisfied even when we have a broad circle of personalities whom we serve. Even if we are a national personality, we feel quite dissatisfied. Because by nature, we are a servant of God. And unless we connect to God through the relationship of service, we don't feel satisfied. So the ultimate satisfaction which is required is our ability to be able to connect to God in the mood of service. And the reason being that this is our original relationship. The original relationship we have with God is a relationship of service because we are a parts and parcels of God. When we try and come down and try and seek the same satisfaction by increasing our influence, increasing our network, and becoming more and more well situated, even then we feel dissatisfied because we do not have that original relationship enlivened again. We do not have that connection happening to us in a positive way. Right? Krishna in the Shastras is described as Akhila Rasamrita Sindhu. Akhila Rasamrita Sindhu. Akhila is what? What is the meaning of Akhila? Everything. Practically you can say a translation of Akhila is everything. Rasa. What is rasa? What is the rasa? Why is it that we like some kind of mangoes and we do not like some other mangoes? Every one of us has preferences. We prefer that one kind of mango is tastier than the other. What is it which we are looking for in the mangoes? Rasa, right? We are looking for taste. We are looking for a specific taste in a mango which is rasa, right? We are looking for that specific taste in a mango, that nectar, and in some cases we like some, in others we simply do not like some, right? We do not like some. So now, rasa essentially is our taste and our preference and our seeking of a special taste in an object. a man finds a special taste or rasa in having a relationship with a woman. Likewise, a woman finds a special taste in having a relationship with a man. Right? There is a taste, there is some kind of a pleasure giving potency or a taste in a particular relationship. And that's the reason why we seek that relationship. Now Krishna is called Akila Rasamrita Sindhu. He is rasa where all the embodying rasa, he is the sum total of all the taste you can find in any relationship. Can you find this? Can you understand what I'm trying to say? He is the sum total of all possible relationships a human being can ever have, a living entity can ever have. That is Krishna. So unless we connect to the source of all relationships, he is Akila Rasamrita Sindhu, we do not find satisfaction. This dissatisfaction is because we do not have a relationship with God. And why do we say we do not have a relationship with God? Even though some of you may claim that how can we not have a relationship with God if it is our intrinsic nature? How can we not have a relationship with God if it is my original position? But the fact is that we do not have a relationship with God. And why is it so? We do not have a relationship with God unless there is service. Just as much as you cannot claim that you love someone unless you serve someone. It's an absurd claim to say that I love someone but I don't want to serve, because that's just sentimentalism. We are being sentimental when we say that we love someone but we have no objective to serve. When we say we love God and we want to engage in loving devotional service, it essentially means that you have to serve. So even though we have an intrinsic relationship, even though we are parts and parcels of God, that relationship is not fully established, it's not enlivened, it is not becoming active unless we start serving. It's an extremely important aspect of any relationship. Any. What to say of the ultimate relationship with God. Right? So Krishna is all attractive, and the ultimate relationship with God is in having a relationship with Him in the mood of service. So there are 5 different ways, predominantly, you can have a relationship with God, with Krishna. And what are the 5 different ways? You can be a servant, dasya. You can be a servant, and that relationship is quite formal. How is it formal? It is like a master-servant. A master-servant relationship is quite formal. Right? A master-servant relationship is quite formal. There is affection between the master and servant, but it is formal. Right? The next level of relationship is a relationship that friends have. It's completely informal. One looks upon the other friend as an equal, Saka. Right? That cannot be friendship where one starts looking at the other person as a superior. It can happen, but it is also somewhat tainted. It's not pure. Pure friendship is where 2 people look at each other and they feel they're equals, because then the exchange is even more wonderful. See? Like, you have friends who can put your arms around someone's shoulder. But then if you think the other person is superior, you cannot put your arms around his shoulder. That relationship of friendship is somewhat inferior, because now you have the formality being introduced. You can have a relationship with Krishna where he is our friend. This particular relationship is called, right, Vishramba. Vishramba literally in Sanskrit means that there is no distinction between the 2 personalities. So you find in Vraja, the cowherd boys of Vraja telling Krishna, carry me on your back. And Krishna carries them. Right? Sometimes they come back after the pastures, they come back and then they lie down under a tree and then they put their head on Balaram's lap and then they tell Krishna, Krishna, please press my legs. My legs are hurting. Krishna presses their legs. They eat and then they take a bite and then they say, this is so tasty, Krishna, take a bite. You know, you don't do that to Bhagwan, right? They say eat and then they give it back to Krishna and Krishna relishes it, he accepts it. Right? So now this is a relationship of being equal to God, and it is unimaginably sweet because there is no formality. right? So there is a special rasa. This is one more side of rasa. Now the third aspect to it is you can have a parental relationship with Krishna. A parental relationship which mimics the relationship of Yashoda Mai, mimics the relationship of Nanda Maharaj. It's a parental relationship. Now this is also a very special relationship. This is more intimate than being a friend. Right? So Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai, their relationship with Krishna is even more intimate than being a friend. Right? Because you can understand this example even better. The fourth relationship which you can have with God is having a relationship of man and wife. Right? Purusha and Stri. So Krishna is the only Purusha in the entire manifestation. Stri, everybody else. Because Purusha is the controller, Stri is the controlled in the sense of control. That's a definition. Right? Purusha, Stri is also a definition where he is the only male while everyone else is a female. So he is the served and the others are servants. Right? We don't make a distinction in terms of the body. We are talking about a relationship of souls with Krishna. So in such a relationship, the most intimate relationship is that of God, Krishna, with his consorts. Right? So imagine this. We are a person and we are in a home. We are being served by our servants. The moment our friends walk in, the servants have to step aside because now the conversation is between friends. And they have to step aside because they take lesser due. Now, when that particular conversation between friends is happening, a parent walks in. Automatically, the conversation between friends comes to a standstill because now you have a father or a mother walking in, and that relationship is even more prominent and attention has to be given. But then, the spouse walks in even when the parents are around. They have to take second stage. Right? So that's the ultimate relationship because then that is the closest. Because in the relationship of a spouse, all the other relationships are contained. The relationship of servitude, of being a servant, is contained in the relationship of a spouse. You have the relationship of friendship contained in the relationship of a spouse. You have the relationship of parenthood contained in the relationship with the spouse. So it is called, right? What is it called? Sarva Rasa Sar. Ujjvala Rasa is Sarva Rasa Sar. The highest rasa is the relationship between man and wife, and that relationship contains every other relationship in parts and parcels. So that's considered to be the highest. So Krishna's relationship with Srimati Radharani is the highest. She is the greatest of all devotees. He is the Lord who is worshipped by her. Right? So we do not address him as Krishna. We always say Sri Sri Radha Krishna. We say Sri Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, Sri Sri Radha Sham Sundar. There are so many different names of Krishna. It's always preceded by his topmost servant and his queen of Raja, Srimati Radharani. Because that relationship which she has is the highest relationship and is the sum total of everything else. Do you understand? So there is really no such thing as love without service. There is no such thing as my being fully connected if I do not have a connection with God, because that's my original relationship. It's almost like saying the core of our existence. The core of our existence is somewhat not satisfied, but everything else is fine. Would you be happy? The answer is no. No matter how hard you try, you cannot be, because the core of your existence is not satisfied. Right. So now all these relationships are coming forth in the form of service to God in different aspects. So what do we have? We have a choice of wanting to either be a servant, which is the actual relationship in the spiritual world, but when we choose to be the masters, we cannot be in the spiritual sky because it's incompatible. It is incompatible when we want to lord over Krishna. Not with love, but with the desire to control. I want to control you. I want to do this. I want to do that. That cannot happen. We cannot lord over Krishna in the spiritual world. There is love, there is lording over, but does not happen without intense love. That propensity for us to behave and act like God can only be executed in the material universe. We are separated from our original consciousness and we behave as Lord and Master. And then Krishna says, okay, go to the material universe and be a Lord and Master and see how you can control Durga Devi. The material goddess is Srimati Durga Devi. Only Shiva can control her. Because he is the greatest servant of Krishna, he has the ability to control Durga Devi. We cannot control her. She is the manifestation of material, the energy. None of us have the ability to control her. Only Lord Shiva can control her, and his ability to control comes from the fact that he is completely surrendered servant of Krishna. Because she is material energy personified. She is Krishna's external potency. No one can control her. No one. No one can control her. No one can possibly control her. Unimaginable. But when we choose to do so, we come to this material universe. So since we came to this material universe, Krishna has made provisions for us to come back because he's so compassionate. He's looking down upon us and saying that I want you to come back because I really seek your company. I'm missing you. And he makes constant arrangements. A prominent way of Krishna's arrangements is what? He keeps sending his dear saintly personalities to this planet, saying, bring back these souls because they're so dear to me. This is his loving arrangement. He is sending down Shastra. He comes and he speaks the Bhagawad Gita. His servants speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas have been given to us. All of these have instructions on how we can go back. Predominantly the Vedas talk about us being able to go back by following rules and regulations in the 4 ashramas and the 4 varnas we spoke of. So if you're married, there are certain rules and regulations. If you're single, there are certain rules and regulations. And the whole idea is that we do not belong here in the first place. Have you heard of this whole thing about what? Alien encounters? There are so many movies that have come out about alien encounters. We keep talking about UFOs being sighted. There are so many controversial theories about alien encounters and what is it? ET? So many things. Okay? We don't belong here. What to say of others? We ourselves do not belong here. We are more alien here than we can ever be. And the reason being is that none of us are fully happy. If this is exactly where we belong and we are actually situated in the best possible situations, we should be thrilled. Why is it that we have up and down days? We are like the stock market, aren't we? Some days it's up and some days it's down. That's our situation. Why are we some days up and some days down if this is where we are supposed to be? This situation that we are in and the bodies we are in is incompatible to us. We don't belong here. We are aliens on this planet. This is not our original position. That's why we suffer. So as a result of which, Krishna has provided a means to go back. He is making arrangements and he is saying follow the rules and regulations. The whole idea is you follow the rules and regulations of the Vedas. You make progress lifetime after lifetime. Initially you are born in the deepest mode of ignorance. We are Shudras. From a Shudra life, you make progress lifetime after lifetime following the rules and regulations of the Vedas. You become Vaishyas. Follow lifetime after lifetime following rules and regulations. You develop the consciousness of a Kshatriya. Follow lifetime after lifetime of following rules and regulations of a Kshatriya, following Dharma. Because Kshatriyas have to follow Dharma. Shudras have to aspire to fulfill their desires properly. They are situated in Kama. The Vaishyas, the businessmen, they are accumulating wealth. When they accumulate wealth with orderly purpose of maintaining the resources of the Lord, they make progress in their life. So when each of these different varnas and ashramas choose to do their activity on this planet with great diligence, they make advancement and then they improve their consciousness. So from the mode of ignorance, tamas, every lifetime the person who is following his rules and regulations is slowly coming up and he is coming to the level of sattva. Sattva, he aspires for Brahminical life. What I am telling you has nothing to do with birth. What I am telling you has to do with what's going on inside. You can have someone born as a Brahminical family but then behaves like a Shudra. You can have someone born in a Shudra family who is actually Brahminical by nature. This has nothing to do with birth. By birth, if you are Brahmanas, if you behave like Brahmanas, wonderful. That's even more auspicious. But by birth, if we are Brahmanas and we behave like Shudras, then we are Shudras by nature. Guna karma vibhagashaha. Krishna is not interested in giving titles at birth. Krishna is interested in seeing the guna, which is the quality in the heart. Krishna is interested in seeing karma, the activity born of such quality. What kind of a life do we lead? Right? He is interested in seeing that. So based on this, we make progress. And it takes many lifetimes. And we make progress and we finally reach a point where we start inquiring the purpose of birth. Until then, we are following rules. Who we are today is after many births. Do not ever think that this just happened overnight. Do not ever think that you walked in and you're listening to something by coincidence. Coincidence is a word used by atheists. It's not used by theistic personalities. We don't believe in chance. We don't believe in random acts. Right? We don't believe in any of those. Theistic personalities know that there is perfection, there is a certain order, there is order which is being maintained and it's being managed very closely. This is very intricately, very closely managed set of events. Do not ever think that you're here because of an accident. It may appear so. The fact is that you have come in touch with something special. You have rendered some service. You have come in touch with a saintly personality. They have awarded you the ability to be able to connect to God. That's the reason why you are here. You have received blessings. That's the reason why you are here. Consider yourself as being blessed and consider yourself as being very special. Because it's not an ordinary event. There are no random acts. That's the reason why we have to take it extremely seriously when we get these opportunities, because these opportunities are quite rare. It's almost like saying that you have been given an opportunity and if you do not take it up seriously, okay, you lose it. So now we are at a stage where you really have to follow the rules and regulations, or you can take up a process which would allow you to have the same effect. What is the effect of following rules and regulations? Go back to what I was just saying now. What is the effect of following rules and regulations lifetime after lifetime?
You promote, you progress.
You progress and you promote and you increase your consciousness. So you are tamasic. From tamasic you become rajasic. Rajasic you become sattvic. You are promoting your consciousness. This is the effect of following rules and regulations in Varnashrama lifetime after lifetime. The same effect can be had when we come and enter and connect ourselves to Bhakti Yoga. The yoga, what is yoga? Yuti. Yoga is derived from yuti, which is union. Correct? So yoga is that which brings us in touch with God, that which connects us to God, that which is giving us a union with God. That is yoga. Bhakti is the principle of devotional service. So the component which is most important here is now we are trying to connect with God through devotion and service. Service coupled with devotion. That's the mood of connecting to Krishna. Right? That is the mood of connecting to Krishna. So when we connect in such a mood, what we are doing is we are upgrading our consciousness as well. And there is a certain process involved with it. What is the process? The process is that all our activities are connected to Krishna. What are the four major activities one performs, at least predominantly during the day? We eat and we sleep. That's a normal activity, commonly principle for all walks of people in every age group and every social order. Right? Eating and sleeping. Now, what we do is that we connect, most importantly, the process of eating. Today I'm just focusing on one step. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. These are 4 activities of a human being, and these are also the activities of any animal. Everything that we do, including getting PhDs, is to ultimately eat, sleep, mate, and defend. That's what this is. You can put all these activities into these 4 buckets. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. I got a raise, I got promoted, I eat, sleep, mate, defend better. This is all we do. There's nothing more wonderful about this in this world. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Ultimately. Because if you take away eating, mating, sleeping, defending, even the raise and the promotions and so on really don't matter. If you look at it, our education is primarily to eat, sleep, mate, defend better than someone who is less educated. That's what we do. This is our objective. So what do we do now? In Bhakti Yoga, especially in Karma Yoga, which is a chapter, 3rd chapter, it revolves around our ability to connect our karma, which is eating, sleeping, mating, defending, our different actions which are attributed to that, to connect to Krishna. How can we keep Krishna in the center while we act? Because by doing so, we would be raising our consciousness to the highest level. So let us just talk about the process of eating. That is the most important process. If you notice, the whole aspect of any kind of spiritual order is to have the ability to control the mind. Right? So in Ashtanga Yoga, we say yama, right? Morality, rules and regulations that are surrounding morality. Basic morality which is associated with existence on the planet as a human being is yama. Niyama, higher rules and higher regulations for us to be able to regulate our body. Then you have pranayama, which is to be able to regulate the breathing process, right? Ultimately, life is divided finally by time, not the number of years. Life is divided into the number of breaths. How many breaths have we taken? Every one of us have been given a certain quota of breathing. You can only take so many different breaths. We say when someone passes on, we use the word, he took his last breath. Right? Interesting. We say he took his last breath. Ultimately, time in the Vedic concept is counted by breath. How many breaths did they take? So pranayama is a method of being able to control your breathing process. It prolongs life. Because you reduce the number of times you take breath while you exist, and thereby you prolong the time period you exist on the planet. Simple calculation. Right? So you have yama, you have niyama, you have pranayama, you have asana. What is asana? It is your hatha yoga. All the yogic asanas are done. Right? But what are these 4 aspects of life, or 4 aspects of Ashtanga Yoga? What are they supposed to achieve? What is the 5th one? Pratyahara. Pratyahara essentially means control of the senses and the mind. So yama, niyama, pranayama, asana ultimately results in control of the mind. Right? So in a similar fashion, what do we do when we are controlling the mind and senses? We are controlling the mind and senses by withdrawing them from action which is material. That is Karma Yoga. There are rules and regulations. Do this, do not do this, invoke that, so that you could control your mind and senses and you could focus on God, which is yoga. Right? We achieve the same in Bhakti Yoga, where we control our mind and senses by engaging them in the service of Krishna. Anything that comes in touch with Krishna automatically is purified and it is being sent to the highest platform. We achieve that by coming in touch with Krishna. The most important aspect in a day is our eating process. Everybody eats, right? Everybody practically eats, and they eat many times. In America, it's very fashionable to have small meals. They say, you burn more calories if you have small meals because the metabolism is constantly fired up The engine is always working and you remain thin. You can have lots, but then you have smaller meals. 6, 7 meals. In India, we are used to 3 meals, sometimes 2, and then you can't eat, right? So, but here, there are more meals. So the idea is that everything starts with eating, and it is not an accident, it is said, that the mind, right, the tongue and the genitals, they are all in the same line. So the eating process influences the thinking and also the control of the senses. That's the reason why brahmacharya essentially means that brahmacharis who are celibates, they do not eat beyond 6 o'clock in the evening. You're not supposed to have certain kind of foodstuff. Why? Because the ahara which is going in does not allow you to control your senses. So for you to be able to control your senses, the ahara, the food intake has to be highly controlled, it has to be modulated. That's the principle of brahmacharya. After 6 o'clock, absolutely no sugar, absolutely no this, no that, because it will affect your metabolism in one way or the other. Right? So how do we control? In Bhakti Yoga, we control the process of eating, which is the main culprit, because eating is what leads to other vices. Krishna says in the verse that those who do not offer their food to me are verily eating sin. Right? It is also said, how does seva happen? I said, first you have to establish a mood of service with God. How does that happen? It's said in our Shastra, Seva unmukehi jihva adav. What is jihva? Tongue. Seva unmukehi jihva adav. Adav means first. The first seva has to start with the tongue. And what are the activities we perform? We eat and we chant. We eat and we talk. So you eat nonsense, you speak nonsense. Because it's natural. It's contaminating the intelligence. It contaminates the mind. It contaminates the body. People speak nonsense. Like, frogs. Constantly you speak about activity, and all that does is it draws the attention of snakes. The vibration from the frogs croaking, it attracts snakes. And those snakes come and ultimately eat up those frogs. Similarly, someone who wastes their time constantly talking on topics which have no meaning, they are useless, such a person is merely asking death to come closer. It is bringing death closer. That's it. There's nothing else. So, seva unmukehi jivvadav, our seva starts with the tongue. It starts with honoring Krishna Prasada. What do we do? It's very simple. What is spirituality? Spirituality is transforming matter into spirit. We are spiritual. This world is material. We want to go against the primary nature of this world. We don't belong here. So we transform matter into spirit. How do you transform matter into spirit? You transform matter into spirit by coming in touch with the origin of all spirit, Krishna. He is the summum bonum. He is the summum bonum. He is the source of all the spiritual and material existence. We bring everything and coming in touch with Him, you automatically transform into spiritual. So you take a few apples, you take tulasi, you offer it to Krishna. Apple is just matter, dead matter, right? It's conscious, it's dead matter, you can say that. So when you bring it to Krishna, it automatically gets transformed into spiritual because now Krishna gets involved. Similarly, you cook some rice, you cook some dal, very simple. And you offer it to Krishna, and you don't even have to say any special prayers. There are prayers which are wonderful if you want to say them, but you don't even have to say any special prayers to start the process. Just connect this process to Krishna. Just go before Krishna and request Him, please accept it. And if when He accepts it, matter is transformed into spirit. Simple process. Seva unmukehi jivvadav. We honor Krishna Prasadam at all times. The seriousness and the focus of spiritual life depends on our avoidance of food not offered to Krishna. When we avoid food which is not offered to Krishna, it becomes very easy for us to control our senses. Avoid non-prasadam, accept prasadam only. It's a very strict principle. When you accept only prasadam, then you are only accepting spiritual aspects. You do not add any reactions to yourself. automatically you get elevated. It's a very simple process. There are no restrictions. Yes.
So if I'm traveling, it will be hard to find food which has been offered to Krishna. So is it okay to just take a fruit, offer it myself to Krishna, and then
Of course. At all times you can just take a fruit, you can just, have something very simple and then you can offer it to Krishna and you can accept it. That will be fully accepted by the Lord, He will bless you. Yes.
I had similar question. Is it just a fruit or anything else, like any no garlic, no onions? If I find something, can I just take it?
Well, yeah, there are always compromises and adjustments, right? There are. It depends on how strict you want to be.
But it's
It is. You can say that you want to involve Krishna, but then you are in circumstances where you cannot. You try to, you say Krishna's name thrice and you can accept that, but then it's a compromise. There are those who travel and they don't eat for 20 hours if they're flying from here to India. They just pack everything from here and then they go even during the flight because they don't want to eat, because they don't want to disturb their consciousness. I remember, I don't want to state the name, we know a devotee who goes for 10 days, he packs food for 10 days. He takes a small tawa and wherever he goes, he books a hotel room which has a kitchenette. So if you have frozen rotis and then you have sabji and you have a little pot or a tawa for you to be able to heat up the rotis, you're done. You can completely avoid this whole business of wanting to contaminate your consciousness. See, we are in the business of protecting consciousness and cultivating consciousness. Anything that contaminates consciousness should be steadfastly avoided. If you're serious about spiritual life, you're really serious and focused on wanting to go to the next level, you would want to avoid contaminating. So we don't contaminate our consciousness by eating everywhere, non-prasadam, but we also cultivate our consciousness constantly by having nourishing prasadam and also by chanting the holy names of Krishna. So that's how the Sevon Mukhe Hijivada starts. Yes.
Maharaj, many times people ask why we should give up non-veg. What is your opinion? And what is the actual reason? Why, as per the Shastra?
Yeah, you can call me Prabhu. Right? I have not taken sannyas yet, so that's fine. Just joking. But that's fine. You can call me anything. But basically, food and consciousness are related. Right? We spoke of it. So there are different grades of food and there are different levels of tamas, rajas, sattva associated with food. Meat eating primarily is tamasic. It's dead. Right? Any dead body, we feel it's contamination. Dead body, doesn't matter which part of society we belong to, dead body has to be interred, it has to be taken away, it has to be moved away from the living society because it's contaminated. So when we actually cut up a dead body and we want to ingest it, okay, we cannot make a claim that a body of a goat is very different from the body of a human being. It's a dead body. It's dead matter. It's decaying faster than vegetables. It's decaying faster than anything else. When we contaminate ourselves with that, then that is very tamasic. It's very tamasic. So why would we put tamasic aspects of our life into our existence and still expect that we will be going to be elevated? If someone says that I'm going to engage in all kinds of tamasic activity throughout the day, but then my aspiration is to slowly raise my consciousness to sattva, how is it going to happen? It's a contradictory act. It doesn't work. We cannot have both worlds.
Yeah, when I basically kind of talked about this with a lot of people in Bihar and Bengal area. So the massive Brahmins are there. Actually, fish eating is very common even in Odisha, I think so. So also in the Vedas before, there were many yagas, animal sacrifice, etc. pretty common actually. Cows were slaughtered. Not slaughtered, round. The person who was actually doing that actual act, the highly elevated souls, and they did it in the right spirit.
Correct.
I think Shukdev also asked the same question to Rishi, sorry, they asked the same question to Shukadeva also. But it's very difficult to explain to them when they say that a lot of people also used to eat, like a lot of Brahmins also used to eat meat. In the Vedic style.
But I just said, right, that we don't accept Brahmanas by birth, it is by activity. So in the Vedic times, fundamentally people were acting, but then they were acting on the highest principles. Right? Not that it was accepted by everyone, not that there was meat eating which was propagated by the Brahmanas. The sacrifice was done purely for elevating the soul of that animal to a higher level. The Brahmana was so potent those days that he sits before the sacrificial fire, he utters the mantras for Agni. Agni used to appear. No matchbox. Right? These days they struggle with matchbox just to light a fire for yajna. So where do they have the capacity to sacrifice an animal and then deliver it while they don't even have a capacity to sit before yajna? Right? So those days the Brahmanas were very potent, the sages were very potent, you can read about it in the Shastras. They had the ability to know procedure where they would be able to take and transport that soul to a higher realm. So from an animal body they can grant it a human body. So that was an acceleration, it was beneficial for the animal, it used to be done. Okay, a few animals were given a promotion. The conception in the Vedas was not so much based on sense gratification. It's misunderstood. It is purely based on how we can elevate someone, right? And there are many controversial aspects which you can find where one might argue that meat eating was prevalent, it was done this way or one way or the other. But in reality, Bhagavan himself, when he is coming and he is making a statement in the Bhagawad Gita, saying that I am only going to be pleased if you offer me, I'm going to be pleased with a leaf, or a flower. In other words, vegetarian aspects. And also the Shastras are full of examples. In the 16th chapter and 15th chapter, Krishna talks about the different gunas. And he talks about meat eating being tamasic. So if the whole aspiration of the Bhagavad Gita is to rise even above sattva, to Shuddha sattva, how about the activity of tamas? How can it be encouraged? Who can have meat and claim that they want to make elevation? They cannot. So the way to tackle this situation is by encouraging them to chant, encouraging them to honor prasadam. Because when we come in touch with prasadam, automatically the tongue gets purified. Right? The tongue gets purified and the propensity of wanting to taste unwanted things goes away. So that's the beauty of it. Just as much as the intelligence coming in touch with Krishna, which is hearing Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, automatically purifies intelligence. Similarly, the tongue gets purified when we bring it in touch to Krishna by honoring prasadam. So we can give prasadam to them. We can cook prasadam for them. We can encourage them to come to the temple to honor prasadam. Slowly, steadily, they would also see that it is futile to continue that practice if you are a serious spiritualist. Right. So that will be the best way to go. Right. Thank you. So the whole topic is Sevon Mukhe Jivado, where Krishna makes the statement saying, the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is first offered for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Yajna Shishtashinaha Shanto Muchyante Sarva Kilbishaihi Bunjate Tetva Agam Papa Ye Pachanti Atma Karana. So devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins. So imagine this powerful process. Just by eating, we are released from all kinds of sin. Incredible. This eating process has to be done by everyone every day. And imagine that every morsel that you take is actually releasing you from sin. How powerful is that? How potent is that? Never underestimate the potency of being able to regulate through prasadam. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to say, right, Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. This Harinam Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, have descended from the spiritual sky because the holy names of Krishna and Krishna are non-different. They have descended from the spiritual sky, they enter into the mind and then dance on a purified tongue. So how do you dance on a purified tongue and how do you purify your tongue? The tongue gets purified by honoring prasadam. Once we honor prasadam and purify the tongue and we chant the holy names of Krishna, automatically one makes immense progress. Very simple, very, very natural, and actually very adaptable sadhana. Anyone in any part of the world can take up Krishna consciousness based on this principle. You like prasadam, don't you? Right?
90% of food that I eat is prasad.
90%?
Yeah. I'm trying to learn
To get rid of the 10% too.
Yeah.
Right. Very happy to hear that. There are many, many wonderful souls who have come into this movement who got attracted by prasadam. Srila Prabhupada, when he was here in 1966, he used to cook every day. And then there used to be scores of devotees who used to come, they used to eat. He used to feed them. And that's how it started. They were attracted to the prasadam. Because it's such a natural process. Who would not be attracted? Right? And we eat quite opulently, there's no compromise. Right? Every week the feast is quite opulent. It's very opulent. There's a sweet, there's this, and there's all kinds of things. You've been to the temple, haven't you? If you go to the center, you see that the Sunday feast is quite opulent. It's not something that we can have every day. But then there are programs. So tonight there's prasadam. Saturday in the morning, tomorrow you go for Mangalarti, there's prasadam. You have a program tomorrow in the evening, there's prasadam. Sunday there's prasadam. So you have the entire weekend, you have different kinds of prasad. And it's all quite opulent. Right? And then we cook at home, and then we want to offer prasad. We cook nicely because it's Krishna who is having. So we don't compromise on what we are eating. In fact, the diet of a devotee is far more elaborate than of others. Have you seen it? It's far more elaborate. Right? The Vaishnava religion is, actually religion through food. Religion through the stomach. You eat and you make progress. How wonderful is that? How many people can claim that you eat and you make progress? Others say, go lock up yourself in a cave. You have to fast. You have to maintain mauna. All those things are wonderful. But then you come here and we say, you eat, you feast, and you make progress. Amazing. Right? We make the statement that you eat and you make progress. Interesting. Okay, I think I'll just see if I can. So I'm just going to read the next couple of verses. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavah yajñād bhavati parjanyo yajñah karma samudbhavah. All living bodies subsist on food grains.
All living bodies subsist on food grains,
which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by the performance of yajna. And yajna is born of prescribed duties. So, very clearly, all living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Without rains, there is no question of food grains. And rains are produced by the performance of yajna. Piety is directly related to the availability and plenty in life. You understand? So, sacrifice at different levels. The Shudras commit sacrifice, the Vaishyas have a certain kind of sacrifice, the Kshatriyas perform sacrifice, the Brahmanas perform sacrifice. Sacrifice produces piety. And piety is required for us to attract resources. You have currency, hard currency is dollars. But before you can produce dollars, you have to have soft currency, which is piety. Only one who has piety has the ability to create and to attract plenty, to attract prosperity into their lives. So it is very, very important. Very important. So yajna is required for producing rains. Without rains, there are no food grains. Right? I remember one incident of Srila Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He passed on a couple of years back in India. So for many years in Chittoor district in Andhra Pradesh, there were not any rains for many years. It was actually a drought. And the farmers were suffering. So one day he went there, Maharaja, he's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he's very powerful, and he was a wonderful, amazing Kirtaniya. So he went to one of those villages where everybody gathered around, and he told them, you chant and Krishna will give you rains, because chanting is the greatest sacrifice. You perform that sacrifice, in the Bhagavad Gita it is said that there will be rains. So all the villagers, they're simple-hearted farmers, everyone gathered around from different villages, and then they assembled under a tree. Maharaj started the kirtan, and he started singing the Maha Mantra, right? And everybody joined him. Within 1 hour there were torrential downpour. All kinds of, amazing rains for the first time after many years started in that region after that kirtan. Right? You can imagine the extent of faith. It's a fact because Krishna says this. If you believe it, it will happen. It's a matter of faith. So Maharaj was pure. He had full belief in Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita that rains are produced by sacrifice. He had full belief that the greatest sacrifice was chanting the holy names. He chanted the holy names. In an hour, there was a huge downpour of rains, torrential rains. That entire region was blessed. Right? Amazing amount of potency and amazing amount of realizations people have with the holy names. Nama Yajna is the greatest yajna one can perform because it's a Yuga Dharma. Right? So that particular statement is right here. We have proof that it happens wonderfully. Okay, I'm going to continue this. More or less, it is the same grounds we're going to speak again. So, we'll continue from text 15 onwards. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Any questions? Maybe I can take a couple of questions before we end.
Prabhuji, you said the relationship with God. So, rasas you described that were 4. The 5th one is, I suppose, is Shantaras. Can you explain?
Shantaras basically is... Shantaras is, for instance, I'm sitting on this chair, right? So, do you agree that the chair is serving me? Yes or no? The chair is serving me because I'm sitting on it, right? So now the chair is engaging in Shantaras. It's neutral. If I sit on it, it will serve me. If I move away and sit on some other chair, it cannot serve me. Similarly, a tree, for instance, if I go under a tree and stand under a tree, the tree is giving me shade. Otherwise, it does not bother. It cannot give me shade. It is in Shantaras. So in Vrindavan, having a relationship of Shantaras with Krishna would be like a tree. Where tree or a seat or a bench or a couch or whatever, he comes and he decides to sit down, then in that particular relationship, that particular relationship is called a Shantaras, a neutrality. This is not recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because this does not involve voluntary action from the soul. It involves where Krishna has to come and engage.
So how 4 Kumaras and 9 Yogendras are to be perfect example of Shantaras?
Well, perfect examples of Shantaras, we will elaborate on this in the next class. We will talk about the rasa because generally we do not focus on Shantaras. We will talk about this.
And next what I want to ask, are these 4 rasas which you described, they are on the same platform or like you said that conjugal relationship is much higher? So is it that or within these 4 rasas we can be liberated? Like just like for Dasya, Hanumanji is there.
So liberation has nothing to do with rasa. One has to realize that relationship with Krishna has nothing to do with liberation in the sense that liberation is being liberated from material consciousness. That even those in Shantaras are liberated. Those who are Brahmavadis, who do not have a conception of God as a person, in the sense they do not want to relate to Him as a person, even they are liberated. So liberation has nothing to do with this because now we are talking about variegatedness in our connection to God. So this is much higher than liberation. So we do not want to mix those 3 things up. So once we cross the barrier of being material, we understand our relationship with Krishna. So it's quite beyond the fact of being liberated.
But otherwise they are on the same platform.
Yes, one can say that yes, there is a distinction. There is a distinction in terms of the proximity and the intimacy with Krishna. Right? So the highest rasa of someone having a relationship with Krishna in the form of a consort has a far more intimate relationship with him than a parent or a friend or a servant would. So in that sense, that is the highest relationship. Right? But it does not mean that someone is a friend there and someone else is the mood of a parent and they're going to say that you are inferior to me. No. It's like Yashoda Mai turning around and telling Sridama that Sridama, my relationship is better than yours. It does not happen that way. So in the sense that there is no hierarchy. There is no hierarchy in the spiritual life. It is more in terms of what is best to serve the pleasure of Krishna. That's what is hierarchy there. Hierarchy is who is most selfless. Right? Who can express that selflessness. That's how it works.
What is Prahlad Maharaj's rasa coming from?
It is described as Shantaras.
Yeah. That's what it
Yes.
Why do we think that grain absorbs the most consciousness rather than fruits and vegetables?
Okay. Fundamentally, it is said that souls enter into our body through grains. Okay? Souls enter into our body through grains. That is how it happens. So there is a certain consciousness which is associated with eating grains, and those grains basically, there's a certain consciousness because they have the ability to carry forward souls. So generally, the theory is that the rains bring down souls who are then coming forth in the form of grains, and then who are ingested by living entities, and then they pass through the living entities and enter into the womb of the mother. So this is the process.
This cannot happen with fruits and vegetables.
It is said that it cannot. It is done with grains. Okay? But grains carry a lot of reactions that way. They are very heavy. They are cooked and they carry a lot of reaction in terms of their consistency. That's what it is being said. Anything else?
Is there anything that I can read about this
About
the greens and all this? About my question, is there anything that I can read from?
I can give you, I'll try and see if I can find something for you. Yes. The way I go about it is my Guru Maharaj said grains have it and I said yes.
Even I said yes from these.
No.
I'm just more curious.
I know. No, I said yes because it didn't bother me. I said yes, okay, it didn't bother me. I'm not supposed to. No, I was not criticizing you. I was just saying that I don't know all those little details because I said, okay, grains, I should avoid grains, I'll avoid grains. You want me to stand, I'll stand. You want me to sit, I'll sit. I want Krishna. That should be a mood, but then I was not criticizing you. Yes.
A person is by birth, like he's Brahmana by nature, Guna Karma. Why would he be born in a Shudra parents? Not Guna Karma, but Guna in a Shudra.
Because there is,
because it won't facilitate his soul.
a soul, it would facilitate, that's exactly the precise circumstances that a person has to be born in. It is a part of karma. It is a part of his previous karma that he should be born to parents who are Shudra by nature. He is born to parents who produce an environment which is Shudra by nature because he has to be in that environment. He has to rise above. See, how do you rise above an environment unless you are in a bad environment? Unless you have a fever, how do you rise above that fever and say that I'm going to function even beyond that fever? So circumstances have to be complex that way. Anything else? Srila Prabhupada ki